Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Energy Inside Motion. I'm here today with my guest, Cassie Bailey.
Hey, hey.
So, how did you make your start in the creative industry?
I think my start in the creative industry came a long time before anyone who I currently work with or work around knew who I was. So I started MCing years ago. So talking like, I don't like to age myself, but over 20 years ago, MCing. And that started as like me being an MC in a little youth club and standing around a mobile phone with the beat playing, to me doing under 18s raves, to doing certain grime gigs up and down the country. I think when I think about my starting point, I remember a night, there's two nights I remember, and they were like a week apart. One, I was MCing at an event called Fever. If I had to call it, I'd say I was probably 16 years old, and it sticks out to me because Predator was DJing, and there's a picture from years and years now of me MCing and Predator DJing. And when I then see the journey that Predator's been on, you know, Predator's produced like bangers, like he's DJed for the best MCs in the world. He's produced music for some of the best artists in the world. And when I was a kid, Predator was a youth round the corner who made bad beats and DJed. And so it feels like a bit of a moment in my head, like that was a bit of an iconic moment I was a part of. And then a week later, I did another under 18s gig, and I was spitting some bars. We don't say the bars anymore. And somebody, about three people, they grabbed me and they're like giving it this, and they ripped my t-shirt off my body. I remember going home with no top on because they were screaming my bars in my face and tore my t-shirt off. I thought, you know what? I ain't even mad at it, dog. I like the energy. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was a different time. It was a different time to be alive.
What led you into the creative industry? Like, what led you into that?
It's a good question. I've always been someone who likes to express myself through words, whether that's just joking with my friends or whether that's a debate, an argument, whatever it might be. Words are something that I've always come to quite naturally and enjoyed. So me ending up being a poet, a theatre maker, a rapper, all that kind of stuff, all just hangs on the fact that I like to play with words. I like to use them. I like to manipulate them. And I think that come from, you know, being in a house where we was listening to great music. Like when I say great music now, I'm not talking about this foolishness.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about Tevin Campbell. I'm talking about Tony Braxton. I'm talking about Genuine. I'm talking about some lovers rock. I'm talking about some reggae. I'm talking about some proper hip hop music. I'm talking about me and my dad sitting down. I'm 15 years old and it's 2 a.m. and we're breaking down Tupac lyrics, and he's like, "This, you ain't hearing people talk like this. They're not saying stuff like this." And it's like I remember there's a line, my dad spoke to me about this line probably about 10 times, and the line is, "My cold stares seem to scare all my sister's kids off." You know, if you know the song, you know the song. And my dad's like, he could say a lot of stuff to make him sound scary, but he sounds scary without trying to sound scary. He's referencing his sister's children. He's probably not happy about the way that he appears to them, but he's being honest in it. You get me? And what I found in those conversations with my mum and with my dad, sometimes I walk in the house, my mum just rocking like this, got some Tony Braxton playing. I'm just like, "Mum, what's going on?" My type just zoning. Okay. What I found in those moments is my love for lyricism, and I just loved it. And my dad also was like, he would quote plays and poems. So he would say he didn't like to read, didn't enjoy reading necessarily, but he'd know like a William Shakespeare soliloquy off the top of his head, and he'd just start quoting it, and you'd be like, "Where's this come from?" He used to quote, we don't really talk about Rudyard Kipling these days because it turned out to be a mad eugenicist, but he used to quote Rudyard Kipling, if you can keep your head while all those around you are losing theirs. Man, I would quote that poem start to finish, and you know, say what you want about Rudyard Kipling, it held weight. So, you know, the poem ends in that, and then my son, you will be a man, something like that. And he would quote those things in moments of like, I'm in trouble and my dad's quoting a poem, you know what I mean? Or I'm proud of something and my dad's quoting a poem, and I'm like, these are not just words that people throw around for like artistic value. They hold a weight. So that to me told me from early on, my words would hold weight. And I remember my dad he was the mayor of the West Midlands at the time, Andy Street. And Andy Street said to my dad, "Did you know your son would become the voice of Birmingham?" And I was like, and my dad said, "I always told him his mouth would get him in trouble." Same thing, I guess. So yeah.
So what I noticed in what you just said was you mentioned your dad a lot. What impact has your dad had on your journey and also your poetry?
I think my dad's had a massive impact on both, I suppose. Probably less so my poetry and more so just my broader journey. I think I've done the thing that a lot of sons do with mum or dad, and with both in my case, where they tell you something and theoretically it makes sense. But as a 15-year-old or 18-year-old, you think you know better. So you kind of go, yeah, whatever. You go and do whatever you was going to do. And then life has a beautiful way of showing up about a year later and going, remember what your dad said? And you're like, yeah, I should have paid more attention to that. And so over time, one of the things that my dad says to me when I was a kid that I hold in my head heavily now, he said, whatever you think now, you probably won't think it in 5 years. So that doesn't mean don't be strong in your opinions. It doesn't mean don't stand for what you believe in, but don't close your mind to the point of you make the thing that you realize in 5 years. You could have got there 2 years earlier if you just opened your mind to allow other things in. So I stick by that. But yeah, he definitely had a big role in shaping who I am and how I am. And when he said my mouth would get me in trouble, I got it from him.
No, I like what you said about the not staying stuck on one thought or one. Because yeah, I feel like just watching your journey, that's how you move forward so quickly. It's like you always pivot. Yeah, you always pivot. You do one thing, you don't take time to celebrate it or like that. You just, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? So how have you been able to navigate yourself through the creative industry over the years, would you say?
I think at times, I find it difficult because there's an element of me, and to be fair, I say this with the humility to know that I've done quite well in a lot of fields, so I'm not playing down that fact. But there's times when I think, if I just decided to rap all the time, would I see more success as a rapper? So when I see someone rapping, I'm like, man, I can rap like that. But I'm over here writing a play. I mean, so I should be doing some more rapping. And then similar with the poetry, although less so because I've had quite a level of success. I don't feel like that in theatre making because I know that theatre making is hard, and I know people have put in some graft and seen the success that I've seen. So I can't complain about that. But I do always have those moments of if I focused on one thing, would it be different? And even with what I do as a job, so I'm a teacher, I'm a senior leader in a school. So there are times when there are opinions I can share, but I cannot share them in the exact way that I would want to share them because someone's going to say, oh, you can't say that, you're a teacher. So there's a balance of where can you go doesn't mean I don't feel it sometimes. So there's all the different things that I do feed each other, but in a different way potentially inhibit each other. And if you think about the volume of work I get through, if I was doing all that work in just one field, then maybe I'll be in a different place in that field. But I love all the stuff that I do, and I'm not here for someone to say Casey's the best at this, or I'm not here for someone to put me in conversations like that. But I love what I do. I love what I do. I'm really lucky that people pay me to do it in all different fields. I've got a wonderful house with my beautiful family. I don't want for things, so I'm kind of I'm very content. But there are times when I sit down and I think, what if I was just doing this one thing? Where would it be? What would the journey look like then?
How do you think having a family has also impacted your journey, or just you as a person? Just
massively. Even things to be as successful or prominent as you want to be in this kind of sphere that we're working in. You have to be in a position where someone can say, you don't have to be, but it helps to be in a position where someone can say to you, yo, there's this event tonight, you're going to roll. No, I'm not going to roll. I'm putting my son to bed. What are you talking about? I got 3 kids. I'm rolling. I'm lying down with the 3-year-old. Then I'm going in there with the 5-year-old. I ain't rolling nowhere. So,
I asked you that question all the time.
Right? I remember, I think it was this time actually, I messaged you, I was like, it's too short notice. Because, there's a flexibility in that I think is beautiful. If you're 22 years old, you ain't got no children, and you're like, yo, I can get a studio tonight. Go to the studio tonight, man. Yeah. Of course. Because let me tell you now, when I was 22 building mine, I was in that studio. I was on that open mic. I was at that video shoot. I was in all those spaces. Whereas now, sometimes someone will say something to me, oh, I've got a ticket for you to come here. And I think, yo, that sounds sick. And I look at my wife, and my wife looks like she's a bit tired, and she's going to have to put these 3 kids to bed on their own. Just message a man back and say, I can't even do that tonight, bro. I'm not going there. Sometimes I'm going to have the conversation and say, babe, look, hey, situation has opened up. But other times I'm just like, nah, that's not even an option because I can't convince myself that I work as hard as I do for the betterment of my family's lives, and then allow the work that I do to make my family live a less happy or amazing life. So yeah. Whereas, I give you an example, when I was younger, before I had kids, same beautiful woman in my life, she wasn't married to me then. She was like, we're gonna have a quiet night in, it's gonna be lovely. I was like, it's gonna be lovely. And then my friend messaged me and said, I got tickets to Watch the Throne, Jay-Z, Kanye West at the Utility Arena. It weren't called that then. And I was like, for when? He was like, tonight? I was like, tonight, bro, at 6 p.m? He said, I'm outside your mum's house. I said, well, I'm inside my mum's house. Let's make this happen, boy. I said, babe, look, you have a great quiet night. Ball so hard. You know the song.
I did the same, bro. I did the same.
Oh, that was it. I was like, babe, we'll talk about it tomorrow, man. I'll tell you how good the concert was. I'll give you a whole breakdown.
How do you feel like your voice has like changed over the years? Like the impact of your voice?
I was an angry kid, man. When I was 15 to 19 years old, none of the stuff that I said is stuff that I would like my children to hear. Blunt and honest, like I tell you straight. Not for academic, theoretical, or otherwise purposes. I don't want them to hear those words. And I said things that were like specifically angry and stuff that was just generally just negative and not very useful. And I think the way that my voice has changed is, you know, I've come to realize that in this world, in this world, most of us have gone through something. Lots of us have gone through more than others for various reasons. And I don't ever want to be in a position where, unless it's for calling out someone who's done something wrong, I don't ever want to be in a position where the words that I use are hurtful or harmful to people. And so beyond that, I think that was like a starting point for me in terms of who I am today, the artist I am today, the man that I am today. That was a starting point, and I thought that was enough. I thought it was enough to not add to the problem. But I realized over time, you have to do more than that. You have to say something that someone's going to feel like, okay, actually, maybe I need to think about what I'm doing, or maybe I can do better, or maybe I can be more than I thought I could. So for me, the best moments that I have is when someone's called me and said, oh, Casey, can I, or DM me, Casey, can I pick your brain about something, because I'm going to do this thing and I don't know how it's going to work. I say, yeah, man, give them my number. They call me up, might be on the phone for an hour. And then just 2 years later, and I'm at an event and I'm seeing them do the thing that we spoke about, and I'm like, this is it. This is it. Like, to me, that's the power. Like, that's the biggest and best power. It's funny because there was a conversation we was kind of having earlier off camera about, you know, exchange of value. Exchange of value, yeah. And like, for me, it's way more powerful that someone who I think is amazing, but everybody else can't see they're amazing yet, says, oh, Casey really helped me, than someone that everybody thinks is amazing says that I'm great. You know what I mean? You get the biggest guy and they go, I think Casey's great. Nice. Someone who's amazing and they're on their journey and they go, oh, thanks to Casey for that. I'm like, yeah, man. Because that's, I'd rather add value than take value. And it's not just like, it's not just a selfless thing, because like we all get better when we all get better. You know what I mean? Like, so it's developmental, it's functional. It makes me better. Sometimes I've spoke to poets and they've shared an idea with me. This happened to me once with my guy Zachariah. I don't even know if I spoke to him about it afterwards. And he said something to me. And he was asking me a question. And I thought, damn, what a good question. So I'm trying to answer the question for him, but at the same time, I'm like, I'm trying to answer this question for me. And those are the best times for me. So that's what my voice is for, is to develop myself and to develop other people, to understand this bonkers world that we live in, and know that just because people tell you things are right doesn't mean they're right. Just because people tell you that things are wrong doesn't mean that they're wrong. We have to understand things on a better level.
Something that you touched on was your environment. So what was your environment like when you were younger, and what do you think the importance of an environment is for creatives?
It's a good question, man. It's a good question. I think my environment was a mess. You know, and at the same time, this is something I didn't deep here until I read the Caleb Femi poetry collection, Poor. Right. I spent a lot of years talking about how negative it was where I grew up, which it was. It had a lot of negative impacts on me. But you couldn't tell 15-year-old me it was negative. I was having a whale of a time. Oh my God. I wouldn't have traded it for the world. And I teach kids now who are like 14, they live in a boring little quiet place and their life's so amazing. And they're like, oh, it's so boring around here. I'm like, oh, it sounds safe to me. I didn't grow up around no safety, but I grew up around what at the time I would have called lots of fun. So my environment was chaotic. My home environment was at times chaotic, but a lot less chaotic. As soon as you stepped out the door, it was carnage. And I got involved in all kinds of drama. And like, I'm not mad at myself for that, or I don't hold myself in any negative light for that, because I know I work with kids now who I have to tell that it's not their fault, that they made some mistakes and they can do better. So I have to tell it to me as a kid as well. But yeah, it was carnage. And what it did to my creativity is I was consciously trying to make positive music about negative things. But ultimately I just made negative music because I was just mad. I was vexed all the time. Even when I was, like I say, it was fun. But as soon as you took me out of my friendship group or out of an event, like a party or whatever, as soon as you give me a moment on my own, all I can see is drug dealers and drug addicts. All I can see is gang members and victims. All I can see is violence and drama. And so when I was just there, I was just vexed. I was mad about stuff. And with all of that said, something that has served me in life is, especially in arts as well, is like there's nothing, I promise you now, there's nothing that is going to happen to me in work as a teacher, on stage as a poet, on stage as an artist, as a rapper. There's nothing that's going to happen that is going to touch my worst 100 days. It's not going to get near it. So when someone says to me, oh, you know, what if you got there and no one likes your poem? Come on, man. You ever woke up in hospital? I ain't worried about nobody not liking the poem. Like, I would love them to think the poem's great. But you know what? I got stitches in my back. I came over some wild things. I had to stand up at my mother's funeral and read her eulogy. You think I'm worried if they don't like the poem? So what life has taught me is none of this is that bad. So when people go like, oh, you know, my boss wants to speak to me, I'm like, what's your boss gonna, is your boss gonna beat you up? Boss ain't gonna beat you up, and chill out, man. What's the worst they're gonna do? They might sack you, get a new job. It sounds easy, and obviously it's not easy, but in reality, I have bounced back from things that most people I meet have never experienced. They haven't had a sniff of it. I'll never forget sitting at university, and there was a newspaper article about a boy being stabbed, and a girl in my class who I was working on a project with said to me, nobody really gets stabbed, do they? I said, what do you mean? She said, you know, real people don't get stabbed, do they? I said, it's funny because I always thought I was real. And she cried. I didn't cry. I don't know what she's crying for. I got stabbed. But she cried because that's the closest she's been to that. And to me, I read that news. When I think about it, I was almost desensitized to it because I read that newspaper like, you know, DJ Khaled, another one. She read that newspaper article like, the real world. Oh, it's very real. It's a very real world. And so that has put me in good stead because, you know, I could literally, like the whole crowd could stand up and boo my poems. I would be like, it's a bad day there, lads. We go again tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's mainly just like who you are as a person that matters over everything. Like if you've built a lot of deep skills in yourself and a lot of value in yourself, if something negative happens to you, you're not going to care about it because you know you can just make another opportunity. I think it's like taking power away from like emotions and thoughts and everything, and you're like at the centerpiece of that. What advice would you have for creatives who want to get into the industry? And why do you think it's important actually? Like, because obviously you mentioned around your environment and it wasn't the best when you were growing up. What do you think the importance of them is in actually doing creativity as well?
I like the second part of that question. I think, you know, for some people, I think probably a really small group of people, but for some people, creativity might not be that important. You know, they might just want to get on with their life, follow the rules, tick the box, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I think for most people, creativity can only enhance your life. And for people who choose to go down this route of being creative in any way, and by that could be your poet or your filmmaker, or it could be the person at the office who always makes the nice PowerPoints. It doesn't matter. There's some, you know, I mean, some people got a little flair in them, and that's absolutely cold. To me, the beauty of it is you can take your darkest thoughts, you can take your brightest thoughts, you can take an unformed idea out of your brain, and you can do something with it that puts an idea in somebody else's brain. And there's nothing more powerful than when I hear people, you know, you hear people quote people and you don't know who they've quoted. You're like, I don't know who that person is. And you want to go and look it up because the quote sounded so good. I want to be able to say things and do things that people go, oh man, yeah, because Casey Bailey said, and people go, who's this Casey Bailey guy, mate? Sounds interesting. And I think we can all do that, and we can do it in a way that is fun and exciting, but we can do it in a way that adds value, and people go, it's like such and such said. I don't know if you've recently seen, there's a poet called Holly McNish, and she's done a poem called If You Want Your Country Back. And you can write a 10,000 word thesis on your thoughts on whether people should be rioting for this and hanging flags for that. Holly McNish come up here, she drop a 1 minute poem, you send it to your friend, you change their mind. It's mind blowing. And that's what we have the power to do when we create art. In terms of my advice for artists, don't slack on the work. When I first started writing poetry, and most poets that I know, when you first start writing poetry, you're like, there's two things that they said all the time. I said it all the time. First one is, I don't really read anyone else's poetry because I don't want it to mess with my ideas. I want to write original things. Oh, the stupidness, right? I don't want it to poison my mind, right? And really all it does is it feeds your mind, and it turns poetry from an activity that you do to a language that you think in, you see the world in. And so, if you're a poet, read poems. If you want to write plays, go to the theatre. If you want to make films, make sure the film people are the best at this. You ain't met a filmmaker, right, who ain't got a very niche and serious love for a film you've never heard of, right? And they'll tell you all about it. They'll make you watch it, and then they'll say, did you love it? And you'll be like, I didn't get it. So whatever you do it. If you're a rapper, make sure you're listening to rappers and you're watching the interviews where they break down the lyrics and you're going, right, that's what he meant. Because that's going to feed your creativity. It's lazy and it's ignorant to think you're going to come into a field and be great, and you ain't even watching what people who are great have done, and you ain't even watching what people who are good have done. So pay attention. Sometimes it's maddening. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're reading a book. Sometimes I'm reading a poetry collection. I'm like, raw, how do you get this good? It's infuriating. But you know what? You look back 5 years later and you look at the poetry you're writing then and your poetry you're writing now, it still might not be that good. You know what I mean? It still might not be that poetry, but it's a lot better than the poetry you was writing when you started reading this stuff. So don't slack on the work. Because the other thing is that a lot of poets say early on is like, I don't edit. I just write it, and it's just, when I write it, it's just, that's it. And then over time, you're like, I could pick a better word there. And you start by tweaking, and next thing you know, you're writing a whole piece of poems, and then you're going, no, I need to cut that whole chunk out, man. That's not doing what I want it to do. And there's power in that, but that's the work, that's the craft. And I think what a lot of people want is they want the attention, they want the moment, they want the limelight. Of course, that's logical, it makes sense. But they want it without doing the work. And I realized there's work that I put out when I was younger where I had a bit of buzz and attention, and now I'm like, that work's still out there. Because it wasn't as good as I would want it to be. But I would do it anywhere and everywhere because I wanted people to see me. But I wasn't developing to be the best me I could be. So now, there's a stunning poet called Roger Robinson. Roger Robinson will tell you, man, read books, and write stuff. Don't write everything and think, everyone's going to see this. If you're a painter, paint 100 paintings before somebody sees one, and be like, this one's great, rather than be like, I've made a painting. It's all right, man, chill. Chill. So as a poet now, there's so many things I write. I try to, but I fell off. I try to write every day and write every day with the intention of nothing. This writing, no one's ever going to see it. I'm just writing it. It's practice. I'm sharpening the pen. I'm skilling up the work. I've seen a painting in the art gallery. I'm going to write a poem about the painting. I've read a poem. I'm going to write a story about the poem. I read a story. I'm going to write a poem about the story. And then just leave it in the book. Just leave it in the book, and then maybe I'll come back to it. Maybe I'll never see it again. But what happened up here when I was writing that, someone will see that one day when I nail that line, when I craft that piece that I think is beautiful. Yeah, that one's going out. All of that's behind it. You know what I mean? You never see the foundations of a building. So you never see them, 100%. But they're there. They're there because the building ain't falling down. And that's the same with art. They're not going to see your foundations, but it won't fall down because the foundations are there.
What advice would you have for people who are trying to build confidence in their art and actually releasing it?
Good question. Listen, it's never going to be good enough. So therefore, release it now. You're never going to be 100% happy with it. And even if you are, you're gonna look back at it and think it could have been better. And so like I'm in this there's a beautiful like thing in theatre that people talk about where like it's never done. It's similar with poetry at times and lots of different arts. It's never done. You just get to the deadline. I mean, like it's got to be published tomorrow. You send it off. And so I've had 2 plays recently, Grind Boy and Please Do Not Touch, where I found out they're going on national tour. So Please Do Not Touch will go on national tour next year. Grind Boy will go on national tour the year after. And I get home, I say to my wife, yes, you know, they're taking Grind Boy on national tour. It's like amazing. And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm going to get back to work on it. She's like, what do you mean work on it? Like this player had a sold out run 2 years ago. What you working on? I was like, wow. Me and the director think it could be better. She's like, why does it need to be better? It's great. That's why I want to take it on tour. I'm like, yeah, but in that last week, there's questions that we had that we couldn't answer, but the player had to go on stage. So we just said, we're going to do this. And now we're looking at it going, was that the right choice? I don't know. So it's never done. You just get to a deadline. Where that's hard is when you're setting your own deadlines. Because until your play's going on stage or your book's getting published or whatever, you decide whether you pull it out or not. You're just sitting in your house going, I've got a poem that I'm really happy with, but I'm not sure if everyone's gonna love it. So now you're like, pull it out, man. Pull it out. And there's a Instagram influencer, I suppose I would call him, called David Whiteley, used to operate under the name Sideman. And Sideman's power came from the fact that he released almost every single day without failure. And what you realize is in this quick social media economy that we live in, if I follow you on Instagram and you put out a poem that I don't like, I'm not going to unfollow you. I'm just going to go, not for me. But when you put out one that I do like, I'm going to send it to 10 of my friends. Now, if 2 of my friends like it, they might send it to 10 of their friends. If you only put 1 poem out every 3 months, you only have the opportunity once every 3 months. And the one that I don't like, now you got a 6-month window before I share you with my friend. Simon did some content. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about here. He did some other content. I was like, bro, sending that to my friends. And if you're doing that every day, and people are sharing your thing every single day, then every time someone likes it, they'll follow. But when people dislike it, they don't. When's the last time you unfollowed someone on social media? Oh my God. I can remember the last time I unfollowed someone on social media. I can't even talk about what they did to make me unfollow them. You have to do some heinous stuff to get an unfollow. You know, who's clicking your page and pressing unfollow? You just go, what are you talking about today, man? That's dumb. You just scroll again.
Yeah.
So in reality, if you keep just, I'm not saying just spam up the world, but if you've got a poem and you are a poet and you want the world to see you as a poet, and you can't think about how to make it better, share it then. Pull it out there, then let everybody see it. Because, you know, I'm here, you know, we got Ryan Dre Sinclair over there. We've both got poems now from years ago that if you took them out now, we'd be like, don't talk about that poem, don't talk about that poem. Trust me, when we dropped it, people were like, yo, look at that poem, man. And then you build and you build and you develop and you develop. And then over time, you look back at your old stuff and go, it wasn't that good. But you know what? If I never pull it out, somebody wouldn't have commissioned me to write this. And that wouldn't have given me the freedom to do that. And nobody would have ever said, have you thought about writing theatre? Next thing you know, you're doing all kinds of stuff. So don't be like, it's really easy for me to say. And it's really hard for people to do. But in reality, very rarely do you lose anything by putting out a piece of art. Very, very rarely. The worst that's going to happen is people are going to go, not this one, not for me. Fair enough. Like, in 10 years, you won't like all your stuff. You know what I mean? Never mind somebody else. So sometimes you just got to get over it and keep it moving. Has
there ever been a moment where you've gone to release something and you felt like external perception has like stopped you from doing so? And if so, like, how did you overcome that?
Good question. There was a time where there's been a couple of occasions like that, I suppose. And for different reasons. One is like, I always say, I'm a teacher in a school, right? If I perform a poem and I say some like aggressive or angry stuff, people go like, and you know, I'm not going to tell you what I look like because this is on camera, but it's not look like, right? If I do a poem, people go, oh, it's art. Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely. He swore, he said some bad things about some people, but it's art. If I rap, looking like this, oh, it's a bit dangerous, isn't it? So I've been very conscious around what people's perceptions are of a man with my skin color, rapping. You sound a bit different. People are, oh, it's aggressive. It's not aggressive. Nobody heard me rap aggressive in over 20 years. It's all, the rap music that I make is often more positive than the poetry that I make for the very thing that I'm talking about. So there was those times when people's perceptions were, I think, is this going to be a tipping point where people say, you've gone too far. You can't talk about that. And that took me years to like I guess to like immerse people in, had to bring the water levels up slowly to not just drown the people, and people go, oh, he can't say that, he can't be, no, he's rapping, So there's that side of things. Yes. In terms of quality, in terms of like creativity, not really. Not really for like, yeah, for a few reasons. One being the thing I spoke about earlier, like nothing bad's gonna happen. Like bad things have happened in my life. This is not about to be one of them. But also, it's like I genuinely carry around this thing. As I say, I read poets who I think are better than me. I never release a poem and think this is going to be the best poem that anyone's ever heard, because I know better poems than this poem. I'm confident of it. Right? I'll just read my poems hoping they ain't heard Yomi Sade's poems, you know what I'm saying? Because otherwise, hopefully they don't compare us, because then I'm going to look bad. So to me, it's like, is this the best? Here's a weird juxtaposition, right, between poetry and rap. If I release a poem, I think, is it the best? I don't think so. I'm really happy with it, but I don't think it's the best poem that anyone's ever heard, because I've read better poems than it. So I just might as well pull it out. When I rap, I think, is it the best? Yes. That's the whole thought.
Yeah. No, but I suppose like
that's my rap ego.
But I suppose like rap is more competitive.
Listen,
like it's good to be competitive.
You can't be trying to rap if you don't think you're doing it better.
Unless you're Jim Jones thinking you're better than us.
Relax, Jimmy. I'm a big Jim Jones fan, you know. I'm a big Jim Jones fan, but Jimmy, relax. Jimmy, don't do that. Don't ever do that again. Nas, he said that. I was like, and my friend, you know when people message you and say, oh, what's your boy said? But they send it about someone you don't like. So like if you like really didn't like Drake and they send you a Drake video like, what's your boy doing? You'd be like, he's not my boy. My friend sent me that Jim Jones clip. He's like, what's your boy doing? I was furious because he's really my boy. I was like, nah, I really rock with Jim Jones. This is painful. Nas. Jimmy. Don't ever let me do that. See how I said I was the best, but I never mentioned Kano. Don't go wild with it. Jimmy lost his head.
Well, yeah, something I wanted to ask was around live performances. So what was your first experience like doing a live performance?
As I say, I came up as a grime MC, so depending on what we're calling a performance, really, because probably my first like grime set live performance was like that one with Predator and the one after where the people them tore off the t-shirt. So that and before that I was doing grime sets. So they were always more tense than like what I call a live performance now, because a man's trying to fight you for the microphone while you're trying to MC. You're trying to get your last 16 out and a man's like, I'm next, and he's trying to pull the mic away. You're like, give me back the mic. You still got to get the bars out clean. So that was tense. Like live performances of poetry was like, you know, there's a night in Birmingham called Poetry Jam. It's been going now for like 10 years. Was like open mics like that. And it was nerve-wracking because I didn't know what happened in these places. Like I came from writing in my bedroom in terms of poems to I showed up at one of these events, and the first one I showed up at, I put myself down to do the poems. So I'm like 4 or 5 poems into watching all different styles of poetry, and my name gets called up, and nothing that I've seen is like what I'm gonna do. So I'm like, are they gonna hate what I'm about to do? Are they gonna be like, no, we don't do that here? So it was tense, but that didn't last long, because as I say, you know, bad things happen. This ain't gonna be one of them. But yeah, I say that I do sometimes still get nervous, and like I have like a weird like fight between my brain and my stomach because I feel anxious. I'm diabetic. I check my blood sugar, and my blood sugar's fine, but it just feels like I got low blood sugar because my belly's doing somersaults. And my brain's going, why are you worried? Why are you worried? My stomach's like, stop talking, man. You always got some intellectual stuff to say, but we nervous out here. We might die on stage.
Yeah. What advice do you have for creatives who maybe deal with like they're nervous to get on stage? How do you think they could overcome that?
People say all kinds of funny stuff, don't they? They say like, imagine the crowd naked. When you're gonna do public speaking, they say all kinds of funny stuff like that.
That's not what you do, though, is it?
No. I wouldn't be able to get the lyrics out. Like, oh, hey guys. No. And then someone said to me once, they said they heard that piece of advice, they got on stage, they felt really nervous, they come off, they realized when they got off stage in their head they've been saying, imagine you're naked, not the crowd. I was like, don't do that. That's not gonna help at all. I genuinely don't know. I think the thing is, here's a very honest point. I think lots of times we advise people, because you've done stuff, you advise people who are not like you on how they should do stuff like you, and it's not the same. Some people feel very nervous, and I almost can't tell them how to overcome it, because I have felt nerves, but all I've got for that is do it. Like, and I don't think that's helpful. It's just what my brain says. Just do it. Just go out there and do it. And sometimes you go out there and you spend the whole performance just thinking, this is going bad, man. No one likes this. People ain't enjoying it. I did a performance once. It was at a pretty big event. I'm performing. I'm looking at this guy in the front row, and I just thought he was laughing at me. And I was like, yo, homie's laughing at me in my face. I'm trying to rap. I kept looking at him, like checking, is he still laughing? And then I got off, and he come up to me and he says, like he told me he thought I was really good, and he says, you don't remember me, do you? I says, no. And he told me where he knew me from. And he says he was laughing with his friend because I told his friend years ago, when I was like 14 years old, that I was going to do stuff that his friend couldn't do. And I was giving it mouth. And he was saying to his friend, he's doing it though. He's doing it. And he was laughing, like taking the mick out of his friend. Like, he's up there killing it, man. He's doing what he said he was going to do. And I was like, oh, I thought you were just laughing at me like I was dead. It's like, nah, bro, you killed it. So then, you know, you have to try not to get in your head. You don't even know what people are thinking, unless they heckle you. And then you just fight them.
No, I mean,
That's it. Yeah, that's not.
Yeah, something that I really like about you as a creative is like you will perform anywhere. You're always on it. I remember when I first watched you at the Creative Industry Awards, and you performed a number of tracks. I was like, this is definitely someone that I'll work with, man.
Yeah, man. I enjoyed that night. It was a good night.
But a recent performance you did was actually on DJ AG Online's set in Birmingham. Would you like to tell the audience about that experience?
It was good, man. Do you know what? It was, you know, if you don't know DJ AG, then first of all, you live under a rock. Fair play to you. But obviously, you're outside, he's DJing, you've got a specific amount of time. And if he's more busy, you get less time. So people there that day, they had 1:30. There's so many people signed up. And it's funny because like it very much, the energy there, and it's Birmingham, and people think they know Birmingham till you're in Birmingham, and people are like, you know, a little bit tense and that. And I'm like, you know, we're nice people, but everyone wants to get on the mic. And that was a time I was nervous, because I'm telling you now, there's no part of my being that does not think that the bars that I was ready to do are cold. There's no part of my brain that thinks I don't know them. But there's some part of my brain going, what if you forget the bars? What if people think the bars are dead? And it's like, I'm also thinking, when's he going to cut it off? If I do really good, is he going to leave me to keep going? Will I get to the end? Will I get a wheel up? You're thinking all that kind of stuff. But like, it's funny in that environment, because what I ended up doing basically is I was performing. There was a guy to my left. I recognize his face, but I don't know where from. But he's probably a Birmingham creative, so I've probably seen him somewhere. There's DJ AG right there, and then there's two people opposite me. And I'm MCing, and every now and then I just glance, and I'm clocking, okay, this is landing. And at one point I looked at AG, and he's like, I was like, okay, you watching me, son? And normally I see me just looking at the stream, you know, he's looking at me, and I was like, okay, this is landing. And it's funny, when I watched it back, there's a moment where, I can't remember what the bar was, but there's a moment where like 4 people behind me all at once, all like, they're listening, and they all just like look at me, and I'm like, okay, that was landing. I didn't know it was landing like that. And then it, like, he uploaded it, he got like 40,000 views overnight. I was like, okay, this is landed, this is quite decent. And shout out my boy Josh English on the beat for that one, because that's what inspired me to write the song. And that song, I'll tell you something mad. So that song, I did a freestyle for a podcast platform called Remix. And the producer sent me the beat, and I drove from my house, from the studio home, and 32 bars of that song were done. I got no pen, I got no paper. I got home, jumped in, loaded the beat up, recorded it. I went for a run. I got back, the song was done. I never wrote a single word of it down. I don't write when I write lyrics anyway, but never wrote a single word of it down. Like 48 hours after I had the beat, I sent it back to him. He was like, what? I was like, yeah, I like this beat. I like this one.
So what's your creation process like when you're making music?
Music, my creative process is generally very like quick. Like, I do sometimes edit in my brain, but I don't, as I say, I don't write anything down. So I'll put a beat on. if you sent me a beat right now and it was landed and I was feeling it and I had the headspace, I'll send you a song back today. Like, and that's that. And I've been in the studio with artists that I know, even some of them, a couple of my good friends from back in the day. We used to make music, and we'll go in the studio and we'll say, we'll write a verse each, and this is the theme, and then we'll come up with the hook. And then I've written my verse, and I've recorded my verse. And one of them's like, just write the chorus, because I'm 8 bars into my verse and I don't know when I'm going to finish this verse, and you're waiting around. I just write the chorus, so then I'll write the chorus. So like, I work quite quick with music, and I'm very uncritical of myself when I write music. The way it comes out is almost always the way I like it. Poetry, I'm a bit more critical, and theatre, I've written 3 plays. And I would imagine what you see on stage for Grind Boy and Please Do Not Touch, it's probably about 25% of what I've written. And the rest of it just scrapped. Not scrapped, it's just on Google Drive. But like, I have to write theatre, I have to say, what happens if Callum interviews Casey? Not sure, write the scene. So I might write a 10-page scene and go, interesting, not for the play. I have to write another scene. And so I write stuff with the very conscious knowledge, this might not be it at all. But I've got to get it out, see it. And sometimes what happens is you might write the second scene, and that means you have to change the 4th scene. You change the 4th scene, but you don't like the second scene. So the second scene comes out, but it has impacted something, which is dangerous as a theatre maker, because sometimes you'll be referencing stuff later in the play that ain't in the play anymore. People are like, what's he talking about? Why is that funny? Like, oh yeah, you didn't see the bit that I wrote that I took out. Then your director says, you sound like you lost your mind.
Something I want to ask. So obviously you touched on some of like your poetry influences, but who are some of your hip hop influences?
People I've already named, Tupac Shakur. Tupac is, for me, one of the greatest writers of all time. And one of the things I love about him, and I only really deeped this, I guess, quite recently, is if you just put Tupac lyrics side by side, he can seem quite hypocritical. He says one thing today and another thing tomorrow. And what I had to deep about that is sometimes what honesty looks like. Because today I'm angry. Today I want to burn the world down. And so I'm going to write the song that says burn the world down. And tomorrow I might look at the world and go, rah, the world's burning. We need to save the world. So tomorrow I might write a song that says we need to put the fire out. And I think we can jump to, oh, but you said that this time and now you're saying that. And as artists, we can almost kind of say, I've got to pick a brand. So I've got to be Thug Life, West Side, Shoot 'em Up, Tupac. Or I've got to be Baby Don't Cry, Got to Keep Your Head Up, Tupac. And I think what he did was he said, this is how I feel, I'm making the song. And there's a level of honesty in that we don't see very often, because people want to be consistent more than they want to be honest. Or they want to be on brand more than they want to be honest. So Tupac, very, very, and because of the whole Biggie thing, like criminally underrated lyricist. People like to make out like Biggie was the lyricist and Tupac was something else. Listen, go there, listen to that second verse of How Do You Want It? I can't quote it on camera. Bars. Bars. So Tupac, Nas, controversial opinion, Stillmatic is better than Illmatic. Stillmatic is one of the best hip hop albums of all time. One of the few, for me, genuine non-skip albums. Like, it's annoying sometimes if a Stillmatic song comes on, because I've got to listen to the album now. And I had, I had some other songs in the next to go, and everything get dropped. We gotta go back. Is that
the one with the message on?
Come on, man. No, man. Stillmatic, man. Stillmatic. Woke up this morning. Stillmatic. Anyway, so Stillmatic, yeah, Nas, just ridiculous. And then Kano as Scorcher. So Kano to me is, I think, the best British music artist of all time, in my opinion. And I'm not putting that in a genre or nothing. Kano, and similar to Tupac, I suppose, but a bit different. There's an honesty about his work, and I think when Kano made P's and Q's, Kano was just a bad lyricist, just a cold lyricist. When you get to like T-shirt Weather in the Manor, you get like a level of reflection and introspection that most people don't have. And the thing is with Kano is when I talk about music, I talk about it differently to how I talk about poetry. What I love about poetry is observation. A poet can see what you've seen and show it back to you in a way that makes you see it differently the next time you see it. Some of my favorite poets like Ollie O'Neill, Terence Haynes, you're like, how didn't I see that when I looked at it? Because their observation's so exceptional. Kano does that as a rapper. Not many rappers do that. Rappers say stuff, you go, oh, flashy, oh, nice, sick, oh my God. Kano say stuff and I'm like, raw. That is, I know that, but I never knew it before. Why didn't I know that before? But now I know I've known it forever. So yeah, Kano. And then Scorcher, because Scorcher's bad. Yeah. Don't let Scorcher near a grime beat ever in your life. And the resurgence of grime in this country, coupled with the resurgence of Scorcher, it's one of the things I'm most happy about in the last few years. Scorcher is ridiculous. So yeah, man, those, you know, people like Kano, Scorcher, Tupac, Nas, those are my guys, man. My go-tos, and I go back to them again and again and again when I'm not listening to R&B music.
So something I wanted to ask is, so obviously with your art, I know you do a lot of like different types, but what's your purpose and drive behind that? And what do you hope to put out into the world through that?
I think, you know, there's almost two answers to this question, yeah, because it will be disingenuous for me to say that my art is purely driven by purpose, in the sense that I really like doing it. So sometimes I'm writing music, or I'm writing poems, or I'm creating little scenes or moments because it's fun. Like, and I really love to do it. And so I can't take that away. If you said to me, no one's ever going to hear it again, no one's ever going to look at what you've done again, still do it. So that's just how I love. But having said that, you know, I also think that I found out when I was 18 years old making angry, bad boy rap music and grime music, that people would say to me, oh, I did this bad thing because you said that thing on your song. So no one can ever convince me that words don't have power. The question is, are you going to make it positive or are you going to make it negative? There are still, you know, going back to what I said about Kano and his ability to see the world, there are songs that I listen to and they have changed my perception of the world. There are songs that I listen to that I like, I go back to them for a purpose. So like, I also like Linkin Park, great music. If I have you know when people say there's pressure in the air, it feels like it's going to be a storm, but there's no thunder or no rain yet. Sometimes I think our heads feel like that. And when my head feels like that, I feel like I need to cry. But for some reason, I'm not crying. I have no problem with crying. I'm a very good crier. But sometimes I can't cry. I get in my car, I put on my Linkin Park playlist, I drive 15 minutes, I bawl my eyes out. And what happens is I get home and that pressure, that tension that I find in my head is gone. Because sometimes I don't even know what I'm necessarily upset about, but I know there's something eating me up. Get in the car, Linkin Park. So if you can create something. Yeah, so there's a Ray Black song called Run Run. And that song is another song that will just make me cry, almost on command. And actually there's a specific moment in the song that I start crying. I can feel it building in me. That can even do that to me on a bad day. I think what I'm saying with that is, you know, we turn to creativity for different things. So when we make things, when we talk about purpose, when we come to make art, for me, I want to make art that makes people feel something. I've had to learn as a poet to not try and tell people things, because sometimes we just want to, I'm going to tell you how to feel and you feel like it, but that doesn't really work. You have to show people something, and when they see it for themselves, they go raw, and it moves them. And then sometimes they very rarely you're going to make a song that's going to change someone, but you might make a song. I think the most powerful we can get to consistently with music, poetry, theatre is like affirmation and reaffirmation. So if I feel like a boy who comes from where I come from can be successful, and you are 15 years old and you desperately want to believe that, I think I can say it in a way that makes you believe it. I don't necessarily know that I can tell the 15-year-old boy who is convinced it's not going to happen. I don't know if I can shift him. Life might shift him, and time and growth might shift him. But you're probably not going to get that kid who's like, you know, I'm going to do this and you do your song. And he goes, I'm not going to do it anymore. But a kid who desperately wants to do it but doesn't know how, and you say it's possible, you can make them believe that. And so every now and then you can just totally shift someone's perception, but maybe only if you Kane or you Tupac. But yeah, so when I think about purpose, I want to make things that make people feel, that make people think. I'd rather someone disagree with something that I said than not think about it at all. I'd rather someone go, absolutely not, than someone go, So yeah, I want people to think, I want them to feel. And ultimately, as much as I say you can't tell people what to think, what I would love for people to think is we're all human, we're all equal, none of us are better than each other. None of us deserve more than each other. So people go out and work and they get more, and that's great. And other people sometimes are not in the same position to do that. So we have this thing in creativity and artistry. And when you start to blur the lines between like art and business, where people go, if you work harder, you do better. Some people are struggling. Some people haven't got the mental wherewithal and well-being today to get up and get out of their bed. And if they get out of their bed, congratulations to them. And so I think it's important when we are successful in things to not be like, if you work as hard as me, you'll do what I do. Not necessarily. There are people that I work harder than that are doing better than me. There are people who are working harder than me that I'm doing better than. I believe that 100%. So what I more want people to think is, we're equal, we're even. There is a version of you coming that can do all the things you want to do. Do the things that you can do today. You know what I mean? If today it's get out of bed and have a shower, get out of bed and have a shower. If tomorrow it's come out of the house and say hello to someone, come out of the house and say hello to someone. Don't think that other people are better than you. And much more importantly, don't think that you're better than other people, because in reality, we're just humans, man.
100%. Something I wanted to ask is around, I think, leadership. I think, how do you feel like you've do you feel like you've sort of became a mentor of a leader? And how do you feel like somebody else could become that?
Yeah, I think leadership is interesting because there's different concepts of leadership, isn't there? Like I have a position in my job where I'm a leader, but that's because somebody is giving me the title of a leader. Doesn't mean anyone's going to follow me necessarily. Mentor, definitely, because in the very like cold light of it, there are poets now who I just think are exceptional, who have physically come to me and said, can you mentor me? And I've said yes. And they've messaged me and said, what do you think of this? They've called me and said, what do you think of that? They've had a performance. I've shown up and told them what I thought was great about it. I've also said to them, I don't know about this because blah, blah, blah. So I've physically mentored people. And there's a funny thing in parts of the arts world where people are paying for mentorship. I think you can pay for, coaching or whatever. But to me, mentorship to me is not a, give me £150 and you'll get 5 sessions. Mentorship is something that you do because you think it's important. And I remember, I'm not going to name the person, but I remember a dope poet in Birmingham, come up to me and says, like, I don't know how to say this to you, or so I'm just going to out with it. Like, will you be my mentor? And I says, yeah. And I said, what, just like that? I was like, yeah, I'll be your mentor. I said, here's the deal though. I believe that someday someone's going to walk up to you and say, will you be my mentor? Because you're amazing and you're doing great work. When they say that, you have to say, yeah. That's the deal. And there's a whole group of kids who I used to teach who now are not kids anymore, who I still kind of mentor. And I say to them, the deal is, I believe that I'm talking to a group of young men who are going to be in a better position than me in a lot of the metrics that we say is success in this world. People are going to ask you to mentor them. Mentor them. That's the deal. And if we keep doing that for each other, then we have a better society, we have a better culture. And for me, all of them people that I'm talking about in that specific context, because there's different people that I mentor, but in that specific context, I'm talking about young black men. And I want those young black men to know that when they see young black men who are not on the path that they're on and not got it right yet, they reach out and they go, yo, we can do it, man. We can do it like this. We can do it like this. Because in a lot of different cultures have had that without anyone having to try and really work for it. Sometimes you got to work for it, but the work is worth doing, man.
So there were two final things I want to touch on. The first would be around, I think, the value of your own art, not just as in like its intrinsic value of like, what it actually is, but in terms of financially as well. So how did you get it? How did you like know how to price your own art? And how would someone else, do you think, figure that out?
I think it's tough, man, because you know, when I started writing, so like let's say poetry, for example. So there's different metrics in there. So like theatre, for example, there's like really standardized contracts in theatre. You're going to write this thing. The theatre's going to pay you this much money. This is from the UK Writers Guild. Bam. I'm like, okay. That's what happens. That's what happens. I sign the paper, send my money. I've never thought to go, I think it's worth a bit more than that. I've definitely never thought to go, no, you can give me less. So it's just like, boom, that's what it is. In poetry, it's funny because I've written pieces of poetry that when I think about the work that went into them, the money that somebody paid me for them in many ways just wasn't enough. If it was purely on a monetary thing and you said to me, we go again tomorrow, would you do that again? No, never, ever, ever. And I've written pieces of poetry that I'm really happy with. I'm not discrediting my own work in any way, shape or form, but the money that someone's paid me for, I'm like, there's no way it's worth that much money because it's like, it's just a poem. So like it's weird. It's weird making that call. And I remember the most I've ever got paid to write a piece was, I'm not going to say the number, was I had a phone call with the person who was booking me to do it. And he told me the budget. He said, this is the budget. Yeah, let's say the budget was like, say a number, Callum.
$2,000.
Let's say the budget was $2,000. Thank you. This is the budget. So I was like, boom, $2,000. So I went home to my wife, and in this world, imaginary world where the budget's $2,000, I says to my wife, the budget for this project is $2,000. I'm gonna ask for £750 because you know what? I'm doing this thing hanging on what I'm doing. I want £750. I'm gonna ask for it and I'm gonna get it. And the guy called me back and he said, "You're right." He said, "Have you thought about the fee?" I said, "Yeah." And I was about to tell him £750. He says, "Is $2,000 enough?" I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, it's £2,000 enough to cover your fee." I was like, "Oh, that was the budget for me. I thought it was the budget for the project." I never said that to him. I said, "Yeah, you know, we'll make it work." But that's the most I've ever got paid, right? It wasn't £2,000. Thank the Lord. But I was ready to take a third of what he told me was my fee because I didn't understand he was telling me that was my fee. And at that time, that still would have been the most I ever got paid to do a piece of work. And he paid me 3 times that. So what that means is I don't say that to say, hey, look, I got paid lots of money. I say that to say it's hard trying to work out what's this valued and what's this worth. So here are some of the things principles that I hang on to. One of them is, whilst I'm not driven by money or finance, I don't think, I do still want to, wake up in the morning and know my kids are going to have a home over their head for a prolonged period of time. So whilst I'm not driven by money, I don't leave money on the table. So if there's an opportunity to do something that I would like to do, and I think I should get paid A, B, C, and you say, well, I can pay you A, I'll probably take A. Because I have to ask myself, would I write it anyway? Maybe. Is somebody else going to pay me for it? No. Is there some value in this for me, for my family? Well, probably. So I try not to leave no money on the table. I normally only say that in secret. I can't believe I'm saying that on camera. The second thing is, like, what would I be doing if I wasn't doing this? So I'll tell you a story. I'll try and make it quick, right? I did a piece about 10 years ago, 2 pieces for BBC 3. And they came to Birmingham. They wanted me to do this piece and they asked me for another person to do it. And the other person, about 2 weeks before, had called me and asked me who did one of my videos. So I put them on to my friend who did the video. I called them up. I said, look, BBC want to film these pieces. Like I'm saying to them, they should film you. And that person, and they know who they are, and they know I'm telling this story because I tell this story all the time because I think it's important for people to learn from it. That person says to me, are they paying? And I said, no. And she said, big BBC can't pay me no money for my poem. Yeah, okay, cool. So I said, what are you doing on the day? She says, why? What? It's not your business. I said, if you're not doing anything and they're going to come and film you, why would you not do that? Cool. She didn't want to do it. She said, big BBC should pay us some money. So she paid my friend £125. They made a video. She put it on her YouTube channel. I went to the mailbox. I filmed 2 videos of BBC. They put it on their Facebook and their YouTube. The videos dropped the same day. 3 days later, the BBC 3 video had 150,000 views. And her video had 6 views. I'm not saying that to take the mick. That was the reality of the numbers. And as I say, she knows I tell the story all the time. Because she, in the idea of principle, and we all have it, you can't feed me with opportunity. I can't pay my bills with 150,000 views. You can't pay your bills with £125 out of the bank and 6 views either. So sometimes you have to understand. I always say, if I'm not doing anything else, and there's an opportunity, I'll go and don't try to book me for free, people. But if there's an event going on and someone calls me, Ryan calls me and says, yo, I got an event on, I'd love for you to come and do 2 poems, and I'm not doing anything else. I might even come and watch the event. I'll come and do the poems. Ryan can pay him whatever he's got. Like, simple, easy. So, like, don't, like, understand that if you're not doing anything else, if there's nothing, if no one's paying you to be anywhere else, and someone's going to pay you some money to be here, especially on your journey up, earn yourself some money, go and do what you're doing. These days now, I have a rate card. I send out my rate card. I say, boom, this is how much it's going to cost. And my rate card says on it, corporate businesses, charitable organizations, arts organizations. There's no money in art. So if you work for Pepsi and you want me to write a poem and flipping some poetry, I don't want to name a poetry night because I'm not trying to call anybody broke, but we ain't got no money, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, so some poetrynight.com says, can you write us a poem? Pepsi, I'm telling Pepsi up front, you're paying me more than them because you have the bread. And when you pay me more than them, that means I can work cheaper for them. You're subsidizing the art, and isn't that a good thing for you to do? So on my rate card, it says, this is for this is for corporate organizations, this is for arts organizations, this is for charitable organizations, and we can talk if it don't land where you want it to land. And that's how it works. So yeah, how you pick that number to me is it's based on experience. First time I asked somebody to pay me for a poem, I asked them for £150. The first time I asked someone to pay me for a poem was over 10 years ago. I've been writing some poems for some people. So the next time somebody asks me to write a poem, it's not going to be £150. Like, you know, it's like, what's the young boy now just come through at Liverpool? Engelmoa. Yeah? He's probably going to score goals like that for the rest of his career. And he might never score one that good, but trust me, in 10 years, they'll be paying him more than they're paying him now because we've been doing it for 10 years. You know what I mean? Marcus Rashford, go over there, tell Barcelona, I'm Marcus Rashford. So there's a point at which the time that you've put in, the energy that you've put in, and the ability that you've developed around that means you can say, yeah, actually, I want this much money or that much money. And if you're lucky, they phone you up and tell you the whole budget and give it to you.
So one final question that I have is, what projects are you currently working on?
Couple of things. I've got my 2 plays that are going on national tour. So I've got Please Do Not Touch and Grindboy. Please Do Not Touch Spring 2026. National tour of theatres, heritage houses and prisons. Grindboy 2027. Spring. National tour of theatres. So I'm back at the scripts, back fiddling with the scripts and thinking about the promo and all that kind of fun stuff. I am working on, so there's a whole like weird thing that I'm working on around the concept of out of frame. What happens out of frame in terms of, as artists, we're always cropping. We just don't necessarily call it cropping. So we're selecting, I'm going to talk about this, or I'm going to paint that, I'm going to take a photograph of this. We're always picking. And then in the world, the media crops and picks and selects and packages you a message. So my question is, what happens out of frame? It started as a poetry project. It will probably be the title of my next hip hop EP, from a slightly different lens, which is that I feel like I'm out of frame and I feel like I'm talking about things that are not in the frame, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's what I want to talk about. So out of frame, Please Do Not Touch the play, Grindboy the play, and then other than that, I'm just having fun with it, man, getting wicked with it.
Okay. So this has been an episode of Energy Inside Motion, my brother, Casey Bailey. Thank you for coming through, man.
Bless, man. Thank you for having me.
If you'd like to just give the people your socials as well.
Yeah, so on Instagram, I am Casey_Bailey, CASEY_BAILEY. On TikTok, which I don't really use, but I do use, I'm at Mr. Casey Bailey. And the reason I don't use it is because if you go on my TikTok, what you will see is 1,000 students who I teach or have taught saying stuff like, go on, Mr. Bailey. Why, sir? Oh, that's my maths teacher. Oh, go on, Mr. Bailey. Mr. Bailey, what? no way, look at this, bro, it's Mr. Bailey. So
Shows your impact.
so
bro,
try
in
it,
school.
yeah. So don't look in the comments expecting to see any useful insight into the work. You're gonna see someone like tag there for like, yo, Cal, you see Mr. Bailey? Mad. What, sir? So follow me on Instagram.
Perfect, man. Thank you very much. Oh, hello everyone. So today we've got an exclusive segment for Energy Inside Motion. We're going to be discussing hip hop and poetry with two of Birmingham's greatest poets, Casey Bailey and Ryan Dre Sinclair. So, my first question for you both, I'm going to go to Ryan first.
Okay.
Who are your top 5 favourite hip hop artists?
Favorite or best? That's a very, because one of my favorite is not in my top 50.
Such a good distinction.
I think best.
Best.
Oh, I liked favorite.
Okay, I'm just gonna reel off names, no particular order, but Nas is first. Nas, Pac, Biggie, Ghostface Killer. Best. Kendrick's in the top 10 somewhere. I'm gonna say Rakim. I want to say Black Thought, but his body of work doesn't compare to, as on a mic, yes, but his body of work I wouldn't go back to as an individual artist. But I struggle to find someone in the US that's gonna out rap him for 20 minutes, and that's a massive skill. But that's just my top. Jay-Z's around there, Snoop as well, but for innovation.
Okay.
But skills, but yeah, and influence, yeah.
Okay, next we're going to go to Casey, your top 5.
I don't think I know my top 5 that cleanly, but Tupac, Nas, I say Jadakiss, J. Cole, what's that 4? I'm trying to blur the line now between best and favourite. And I'll put Kano in there.
I was actually just thinking that.
Yeah, I'll put Kano in there as well.
Okay. Well, I'll give my top 5 quickly. I think Nas, Big L, Ye. I just think because he has such like a thing of everything.
Just talking about the stuff he wrote or the stuff other people wrote. No.
Oh, okay. I'm talking about like impact or that kind of.
I hear
I think Andre 3000. And this might be a bit controversial, but I do love J Electronica.
J Electronica's cold.
I think J Electronica is, yeah. Okay. So the next question I want to ask
Wait, can I ask you a question? Because what Ryan said now made me think about a question. Who is a rapper that you really, really like, but you wouldn't put them in that conversation for skill?
For skills.
Wait there, I need to go back and revise my list. Put Lil Wayne on my list.
Oh, yeah.
Put him wherever you want.
Wayne's up there. Wayne has to be up there. For skills,
not for skills, to someone you like.
Someone I like highly.
Almost regardless of their skills. You wouldn't put them in that conversation around being best, but you do really like them.
Nipsey's up there, definitely.
Nipsey's dope, yeah.
I would never put him in my top 10 or 20, but there's something about his music that a lot of artists don't have, no matter how skilled they are. It's just that I feel like when I listen to his music, I'm there. I'm there wherever he is. Who else would I put in there? I kind of want to say DMX, but that's giving a disservice to his skills. But he's very skilled, and again, for different reasons, he might not be. He might not be the top technical lyricist, but his lyrics carries a lot more weight than a lot of the more skilled rappers.
One of the things that I often talk about, and I'm not going to name the MC who I often say this about because that would be controversial, but like there are some MCs who, like in my head, they're like a painter who paints a brick wall, and you look at the painting and you're like, "Rah, that looks just like a brick wall." The way you've painted that brick wall is perfect, but who wants to stand around looking at a painting of a brick wall? So you've got all that skill, but what you've created, I don't want to experience it, or it's boring to me or whatever. Whereas like a DMX and a Nipsey Hussle, their power, as well as being talented lyricists, and particularly DMX, but like their power is the emotional journey that they take you on. Like, let me tell you now, you put DMX Slipping on, oh my word. You put DMX Lord Give Me a Sign on and you convince yourself I go to church every Sunday. I'm singing them lyrics like, God is gonna come and get me now. My kids know Lord Give Me a Sign. I can't let my kids listen to most DMX. But they know Lord Give Me a Sign.
I had a few things. My best rappers, I want to add Pusha T to that. I missed Pusha T.
So cold. So cold.
An artist that I feel is 50 Cent. I feel like 50 Cent doesn't have the same lyrical ability as a lot of artists, but I think he had it's just the impact of his lyrics. Like his lyrics, they're very street, but they're very spiritual at the same time. And I think to be able to nail that to where it doesn't sound corny or it doesn't sound, and to impact the way he did, I think it's 10 million physical copies, first album. No one's done that, so I definitely wanted to add him into that.
And he manages to rap like a comedian and a killer all at once. Like he's saying really bad stuff, it's really funny. And you're like, why are you doing this? But it sounds amazing.
I think his story helps as well.
Of course.
And I think a lot of my favorite artists, I invest in their story as much as their music, which, it's art, I guess.
That's art,
One person we missed out as well was Mos Def.
Mos Def's cool.
Mos Def.
I want to say something controversial right now.
Okay.
I love Mos Def, but what he did at All Points Festival, I don't know about that. That was, I don't know if you've seen it.
What did he do?
So there was a period where he was just twirling on stage. And a lot of people, he weren't a hip hop crowd. I knew he was, so I was waiting for Mos Def to hear Mos Def. And I think he maybe done half of one song, but the rest of the period was about half an hour, and he was just twirling, and it was interesting. But I'm a Mos Def fan, but that was just not the right space
and
for that.
And this is the thing, as artists, because none of us want to be put in a box. But at the same time, we want the artists that we like to do the art we like.
But it's a selfish point of view. It was great, but I didn't want that then.
To interject, I want to ask you both is, what do you feel makes a great artist? What if you could pick certain things, what would you put in that?
I would take Tupac's lyricism, Tupac's image, Tupac's story. No, I'm joking. What makes a great artist? I think that there's a variety of things, isn't it? So my rapper who I really liked, I haven't listened to him much recently, who I really like, but I won't put in that conversation, is 2 Chainz. Find 2 Chainz hilarious. Just some of the stuff he says is he's clever because of how stupid it is. Which sounds silly, but a man said, so hard I make the metal detector go, oh, it don't make no sense. This that sauce, this that blessing. Givenchy. What? But he's hilarious, and so for him that's what makes him good. But DMX is good because he's not hilarious.
Very serious.
But now you got 2 Chainz going over Alchemist beats.
Speaking of that, you're bringing me to one of my favorite artists, Larry June, and it's just for the you know what I'm talking about. It's not for lyricism; it's the message. A lot of his message about health, taking care of his son, business, and I'm like, some of the stuff I've heard him say, I've never heard of any other rappers say. Polished as well. His production's always polished. So he's a big inspiration.
I think he tries. I think it's the way he approaches the beat. Usually when you hear an Alchemist type beat, it's either going to be some crazy vocalist like he's doing with Erykah Badu, or it's some crazy lyricism. Whereas with him, it'll be not simple, but more just straightforward. But it's the messaging. It relies just on the messaging. So I think it's unique. But just to add though, what would be some of the things that you think makes a great artist?
I like artists, especially in hip hop, that say things that are not necessarily expected. So an artist that came to my mind was Prodigy. And there was a line, there was a song where he's talking about his, what did he suffer with? Sorry. I think he had sickle cell. There was a song when he was talking, I think it's called You Can Never Feel My Pain. And my brother showed me about that song when I was younger, and he was like, I didn't get it at the time, because I was like, yeah, okay. But as I got older, I was like, Prodigy's got the effect that DMX does for me. It doesn't matter. Sometimes he doesn't even rhyme, and his lyricism is still crazy. But I think, that vulnerability to say things you're not expecting from a hip hop perspective. I like artists that show different sides of their art as well. As you mentioned earlier with Tupac, he's got the I get around side, but then he's got the Dear Mama side. I like the complexities of life. J. Cole does that amazingly as well. It's one of my favorites.
Just quickly,
That's
I think that is good as well for like advice for upcoming artists is versatility.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to a label and they can see you can adapt and do, I don't know, 3 styles of music authentically, you're more likely to be chosen than someone who doesn't. I think.
Yeah. I just love art. I just love hip hop.
What advice do you have for people who are doing hip hop or doing poetry? What would your advice be to them?
Take it in, man. Take in like so interestingly, like Ryan put Rakim on his list. I didn't put Rakim on my list, but there's a book that Rakim wrote called Sweat the Technique. So don't sweat the technique. There's a book called Sweat the Technique. And the book is about how he writes. It's a big book. It's not a small book. Actually, a poet called Sean Coletti sent it to me. Hold tight, Sean Coletti. And like these people, sorry, none of us have mentioned Eminem, right? But these people are technicians. So you don't have to be like that. But it's like we say in poetry, and Ryan will probably get this reference. In poetry, we say, like, you don't have to follow a form. But if you're going to break the form, you should know it. So if I'm not going to write a sonnet, it's not because I can't write a sonnet. I'll write a sonnet every day of the week. But I'm choosing not to. When if you're a rapper and you're like, I don't want to think about how many syllables are in a bar, that's fine. But could you though? You got it in the locker. Because if you ain't got it in the locker, then you're not choosing not to do it. You just can't do it. To me, when you listen to the likes of Rakim, when I listen to Method Man and Redman actually, like their technical ability, I'm like, oh, did he just? And I've got to listen to the multiples. I've got to listen to how they put the rhyme in, like early in the thing, and then came back to it. I'm like, oh, did you just? And I can't remember what rapper I was listening to the other day, and I was on a run. I don't know why it came into my head. But like it was like they were rhyming in like A-B, Shakespearean sonnet rhyme scheme, and people would call it a multi or like an internal rhyme. But the way it's built is clearly it was on the Clicks album. It's like I'm doing this line, then I'm doing that line, then the next rhyme's coming back. Then it's
I know what song you're not.
That is like Malice.
It's Malice.
Malice, yeah.
It's on FICO. The song.
Oh, FICO.
But. Like that technical ability. Don't just come and say you're gonna rap. And I think what goes wrong in rap a lot these days, and I think it's a thing in UK rap. When UK rappers aren't good, some UK rappers are amazing. When they aren't good, you can hear the very basic formulaic, like I'm gonna say this bar about my shoes, then I'm gonna say that bar about you. Long as the last word rhymes every time. It's fine. It's not fine. Boring. So it's like. Do you understand what rappers are doing? Because some people have got a story they want to tell, and that's great, but they haven't thought about the craft that they're using to tell the story. So they just go like, I can just say this basic rhyme, and that's cool. And some people might connect with it. But me, I need to see that. All of that going on.
Okay, so I'm gonna come to you. What advice do you have for hip hop artists or poets?
Well, I'm not a hip hop artist, so I feel like my advice would be very. I don't know. I feel like sometimes you have to walk it to talk it. But in terms of what I like from hip hop, I like to see development of artists as they go on a journey. So like I remember seeing J. Cole when he done was it like Lightspeed, the first album.
Yeah.
And he said
something like
Friday Night Lights.
Friday Night Lights.
It wasn't that one. It was the first official album. He was in like he had like a buzz cut. But anyway, he was, I remember around that period or a little bit later, he's done a song called Let Nas Down. And I was like, again, as even a concept is crazy because hip hop is such bravado and even he's talking about how Nas was his idol. And I really like a family tree of hip hop. I like to see, okay, J. Cole's come from the Nas branch. Nas has come from the Rakim branch, so I like to see like how things. That's a dope concept. Yeah, I love seeing that in hip hop. Even the Lil Wayne branch is crazy. Lil Wayne branch, it's still going. So, my advice, I don't feel like I'm the best person placed, but I can only say what I enjoy.
How about for poetry?
For poetry, I think for me, a lot of it is kind of like what Case said earlier. A lot of the writing doesn't need to see the light of day. Not everything you write is for everyone to see, and sometimes it's not even to perform or to put in a collection. Sometimes it's just about getting in the practice. I learned that from Roger as well. He was just saying continuously editing, this writing is not for anyone but you. And I was like, at the time I was like, 25 years old, I'm thinking, what's this guy on about? But this is someone that's been doing it for 30 plus years, and it's like, if you're still saying this and doing this, it's got to be worth something. But I think, back to your question, I think with poetry, it's trying new things, reading, definitely reading. It's something that I have my moments, I read a lot, read a lot, but I like to take in different forms of art. I think that's another big thing as well. I see a lot of poetry in theatre, even in hip hop. I watch a lot of vlogs and interviews, and even how, like, this is going to be controversial, but even how Vlad interviews, I think at times how he engages is very poetic in a sense.
I hear that.
So
Everything Vlad does is controversial.
yeah.
I can't lie, you said that. I watched the Aries Spears interview yesterday. That man.
Yeah. He don't like UK rappers, does he? But yeah.
But yeah, man. So this has been a musical conversation with Ryan Sinclair and Casey Bailey. Thank you very much. Peace. Cool, man.
Good one.
Yeah, man.
Nice little chat.